Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I move this procedural motion, allow me also, Honorable Speaker, to join you in commending the team of senior counsel and our very good lawyers who have represented. And for the record, Honorable Speaker, I think it's important to mention that the senior counsel, Tiende, the other lawyers, are not representing in court members of parliament. They are in court representing CDFC committees from various constituencies, and some including children who are petitioning the court on account that they are not able to access bursaries. Therefore, it's good to be on record that since members of parliament are not stakeholders per se in CDF, but they represent the actual stakeholders in the CDF, the children of Kenya who have not been able to access bursaries, CDFC committees that are not able to implement projects that touch on security and schools in our neighborhoods, the senior counsel and other lawyers from this house who have given their pro bono services to those committees and school committees, PMC committees in villages across the country. I am sure even the Honorable Babu Owino was seeking recognition because he has offered, he brought children from Embakasi East who have petitioned that they be allowed to access bursary through CDF. And let me also thank the other members and encourage all of us to, if you can get your school committees, your PMC committees in the villages, to be enjoined in that case, because it is a protection of their interests, so that the perception that is out there that CDF is there for members of parliament, for Kenyans, and even the court to understand that CDF is taking care of interests of children in our neighborhoods, children who are not in school today and some who will not be able to access school in January if we do not have CDF. But also, Honorable Speaker, because the leader of minority walked in a bit late, he didn't hear your communication. Thank you for the efforts that you have also taken to ensure, together with the Office of the Clerk and my office, to ensure that the disbursements of CDF will commence from next week, and on a weekly basis, a figure of 2 billion shillings every week. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And I beg to move the procedural motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33A, this House resolves to extend the sitting time for today's afternoon sitting until conclusion of business appearing on the order paper. Honorable Speaker, I think the procedural motion is rather self-explanatory, Honorable Speaker, because as members can see, the supplementary order paper is quite heavy. And as the leader of minority had clearly stated, all the way to order number 33, 34, it may extend beyond the sitting time when the House rises. And since we are moving on our long recess, it's important that we be able to conclude all this business. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to move and ask the Honorable Mureu Wakili, who ably represented the committees in court, to second.
Mr. Speaker, sir, before I second this motion, on the issue of CDF, I'd like to state something to the effect that as members of parliament, when we have an opportunity or when our process of business is being challenged, and yet we don't actively get involved in court matters, expect adverse proceedings to happen without our absence. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I think I want to just thank you for setting up that caucus. Now we can be able to proceed for the recess, knowing that we have CDF for our people, and knowing that our children in January, they'll go back to school. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to second the motion. Thank you.
Honourable members, I propose the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 33A, this House resolves to extend the sitting time for today's afternoon sitting until conclusion of business appearing on the order paper.
Who's the question? Who's the question on that one?
Is that the mood of the House? Yes. Okay, Wandai. Let me hear the minority.
Mr. Speaker, I am on the floor. I'm on the floor, honorable members. Mr. Speaker, before I comment on this motion, let me just also join my colleagues in appreciating the efforts you've made towards ensuring that NGCDF is unlocked. But I also want to appreciate the fact that finally sense has prevailed on the part of the executive. Because we told them all along that there is nothing whatsoever that is unconstitutional in the NGCDF 2015 Act. And nothing was to stop them from disbursing these funds. But now that they have seen the sense, we appreciate that these funds should now come out quickly for children to proceed with their education. Mr. Speaker, on this procedural motion, I want to, from the very outset, oppose it vehemently. I will explain why. And you must be patient to get my explanation. Mr. Speaker, just as I said earlier on, we are not in a hurry to anywhere. I have gone through the order paper. I have gone through the supplementary order paper. From order number 1 up to order number, you will have to endure as I contribute, yes, up to order number 35. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing earth-shaking in any of these motions or businesses under these orders, Mr. Speaker, that if we don't conclude them in this sitting, then the world will come to a stop. Never, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing whatsoever, nothing completely. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, by passing this procedural motion, we shall basically be setting on a path to make this House a conveyor belt, to make this House a rubber stamp of decisions which have been engineered elsewhere. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I still maintain that we can do our business up to the normal time that the House rises today, and then come back whenever that shall be, and continue with the rest of the business, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll be appealing to members that if we accede to this request to approve this motion, we shall be contributing towards the erosion of the dignity and the credibility of this august House. Mr. Speaker, that will be something that will forever be unforgiven by posterity, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know the rush, and I can now say it, Mr. Speaker. The rush is to ensure that by the time this House rises at midnight, you shall have sent home or sent to the tribunal the 4 IBC commissioners.
Order, Honorable Wandai.
That is the point, Mr. Speaker, I'm saying. Yeah, and you must listen to me. Yeah. The point here is that you are in a hurry to send the 4 IBC commissioners home against all the tenets of democracy and justice. This House cannot be a party to draconian tendencies. We cannot contribute towards turning this country to the dark old days. The dark old days of dictatorship. The dark old days of brinkmanship.
Order. Switch him off. Order, Honorable Wandai. Order, Honorable Wandai. Honorable Wandai, I withdraw the microphone because when the speaker is on his feet, however emotional, however agitated, whatever the importance of what you are saying, this is a house of rules. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Wandai. Order, Honorable Wandai. You are a very senior member of this House, and you know there are rules against anticipating debate. The issues you are saying too are at Order 33. When you reach there, you will be able to say everything, including what you are saying. But as for now, Honorable Wandai, I advise you and all the senior members in the House to show good example to your new colleagues so that they can be able to understand. Yes. So that we can be able to proceed. Chepkonga. Yes. Any member who is shouting at another is out of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Although I had stood on a point of order against the issues that my very good friend, the Honorable Opio Wandai, you know, we've come a long way with him. Mr. Speaker, one of the trainings of lawyers, and possibly this is what we need to tell him, you don't need to shout to pass your point. You don't need to raise the same issue every time. The Speaker has the ear, has the eye, has heard, and has made a ruling. And there's nothing to shout at one another, Mr. Speaker. Everybody has an ear here. We will listen to you. We will see you. And all of us represent the people. There is no one who represents nothing here. So, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion of extension of the House, Mr. Speaker. As you know, in fact, it's been said we are so much in a hurry. The members who are saying that we are so much in a hurry are saying, why has NGCDF not been dispersed? Mr. Speaker, we must approve this one fairly quickly so that we can have the PS, substantive PS, so that they can authorize this money to us fairly quickly. In fact, the PSs that are there, Mr. Speaker, maybe the Honorable Wandai is not aware, there is something called in law holding over. Holding over, you are not a substantive person. In fact, you are just keeping the place warm so that it doesn't get cold. You're not intended to be making any substantive decision that are of any kind.
You have made your point. Honorable members, I'll now put the question. This is a procedural matter. Order, honorable members, and for orderly conduct of the House, I will direct the clerks that every time the Speaker is on his feet, the member who is on the floor should also take his seat. If you don't take your seat, then your mic will be off until the Speaker sits, then it comes back to you, so that we avoid unhelpful altercations across the floor. I want to plead with you to keep this House orderly. Those who are many will have their way, those who are not many will have their say, all the time, so that we maintain our democracy, we maintain our decorum, and we maintain a good example to those young children sitting in the gallery, watching the famous Junet that they have never seen, and when they come to the House, they see the Junet they didn't expect. Yes, Junet, what do you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are right that this is a procedural motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a very important motion also because it is doing something that we normally don't do regularly, that we are extending our sitting time from 7 until the conclusion of business. This conclusion of business can go up to midnight, Mr. Speaker. So that is why we need to talk about it a bit. Mr. Speaker, we've been in this House for some time now. And Mr. Speaker, when illegalities are to be committed, we normally extend time. It is known, Mr. Speaker. And today is one of the dark days in our country when illegalities are going to be committed in this country, Mr. Speaker. This is one of the darkest moments in our country when people want to go to darkness. They don't want to do things in daylight. They want to do things in darkness. So now, assuming there were illegalities committed before, must you commit now? Didn't you tell us freedom has come? Didn't you tell us you want to rule the country?
Order, Honorable Junet. Order. Order, Honorable members. BBI is dead and buried. This should not be resurrected here. Honorable members, I'll now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33A, this House resolves to extend the sitting time for today's afternoon sitting until conclusion of business appearing on the order paper. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. As members of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. You don't have the requisite numbers. Call the next order. You don't have the numbers.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the report on statutory instruments, exemption from expiry regulation 2022.
Remain standing. How many? Order, honorable members, order. You may take your seat. Order, honorable members, you may take your seat. Those who have claimed the division have the requisite numbers. So ring the bell for 5 minutes.
kinaliwa na wacha nipigie hiyo ya jailer aniletee.
Ready? Yes. The speaker has already ruled on that matter. You cannot go back. He has no power. Sorry. Forgive us. Now, no's and yeses. Ndio, wapi the other officers? Watusaidie. Because we are going to have manual vote. Ndio, manual. Wale hawana, wakae hapa. Kuna majina tunaitana. Yes. Finish writing. Let it. Hili no ama ni yes. Hata haina date. Hii ni manual nose, right? Manual nose. Then manual.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Take your seats, honorable members. Order. Take your seats. Kawanjiku. Take your seats. Order, honorable members. Take your seats. Honorable members, take your seats. Honorable members, take your seats. Honorable members, take your seats. Clerk, prepare for the vote. And I direct that you have a hybrid. Those with your cards log in. You'll have electronic voting. Those who don't have cards or their cards may malfunction will then be given an opportunity to come to the table and cast your votes. Everybody log in. Draw the bar. Draw the bar. Members at the bar, take your seats. This time, not the nearest seat. Go to the seat where your card is. Honorable members, if there are any members without cards, stand next to the sergeants there. Eh? You come to the public servants' benches, the nose to the left, the eyes to the right. Rindigiri, you go to where the judges normally sit. You go there. Fine, thank you. Members on either side without their cards. Yes, you go to the other side there. The nose this side, the eyes this side. Honorable member, please move quickly. Benja, move quickly. Members who are voting nay and have no cards, move to the left in the public servants bench, and vice versa on the right. Now, those with cards, remove your cards from your machines. Remove your cards from your machines. I see there is still Honorable Bidu, Honorable Raso, Honorable John Gitonga. Their cards have not been pulled out. You can now log in. Is there any member who doesn't know the procedure of voting so that we... Yeah? Pardon? You have your procedure? No, you can't vote. I'll have to... Order. If your card is not working, you join your colleagues here. Yes. You may now proceed. Eh? You may proceed to vote. Not yet. Sorry. Hold. The technicians say you hold. Vote now. Okay, honorable members, don't get agitated. These are machines. They may function or malfunction. Remove your cards again. Everybody remove your cards. You've all done so? There are still 3 members who haven't. John Gitong of Manyata, Caleb Luyai of Saboti, and Wambuku Wainaina of Odhaya. You have done so? Okay, now insert your cards and wait for 60 seconds. Don't insert your card and vote. Insert your cards and wait. Log in, that's... Log in, insert your card and your PIN number. Yes, Clark. Clark, we can vote now. Clark, we vote now. Vote now. It's counting. Vote now. It is working. It is working. It is working. If it's not working, join them. Order, honorable members, order. Order, honorable members. Order, Honorable Kajwang, please sit down. Please sit down. Order, honorable members. Order. Take your seats, honorable members. The electronic voting is over. Honorable Kajwang, I'm going to address your issue. We have members here who didn't have their cards. They will now come in and vote. There will be a printout. If Kajwang does not appear on the printout, we'll give you an opportunity to vote. You have not been disenfranchised in any way. So just take your cool and keep your cool. We'll start with members who diligently owned up that their cards were not working. They will come and vote. Those who are seated but their cards didn't work, your name will not appear on the printout. Then we can give you an opportunity to vote. It's as simple as that. Okay? Now, clerks, you have the roll call. As a member goes back to their seat, you tick them as having voted. Clerk, fanya kazi haraka.
Hiyo ingine tukiwa angalia mbali. How many are there? How many are there? Yes, count. Clear. Mbali. Hey, Jessica mbali kwa. Hesabu pole pole. Mami, hebu tafuta Mbadu hapa na TJ, Mbadu na TJ. Very fast. Mbadu 14. Alama zako ni ngapi? 14. Yes. The nose are 5. Yeah. Seven years. From where? You also, so it is 14 plus 7. 21. Total? 6. Listen, you just come back. Okay. Mbadu. Yes. Is she vote? No, that 114 she voted. She voted? Yes, she voted.
Honorable members, 2 members claimed not to have voted electronically. The records show that the claim by the Honorable TJ Kajwang is legitimate. He can come and vote. And the claim by the Honorable Jess Kambalu is illegitimate. She had voted. So, Honorable Kajwang, you may come and vote. Yes.
After that, would you grant me just to make a comment after I vote?
No, just vote.
Let me vote.
Vote. Honorable members, it's in your standing orders that when voting is going on, every member must be seated and be silent. So for the new members who are walking up and down, I see even the older ones are as well. When voting is going on, you are supposed to be seated and silent. Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Mwenje, take your seat. Whatever it is. Order. Honorable members, the results of the division is as follows. Electronic voting votes Ayes 75, noes 13, abstentions nil. Manual, ayes 21, noes 5 plus the Honorable Kajwang 6, abstentions 1. The total number of votes cast, ayes 96, noes 19, so the ayes have it. And you may now open the door. And the upshot of that is that you will be obligated to sit and transact your businesses until you finish what is on the order paper. Next order. Not anymore. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, consideration of the report on statutory instruments, exemption from expiry, regulation 2022.
Chairman, Committee on Delegated Legislation. Honorable Wandai, there's nothing out of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There is not. We are on order number 9. Since there is no debate
Thank you,
yet,
Mr. Speaker.
you move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I wish to move the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulation 2022 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1st, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 21, subsection 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, approves the statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulation 2022, published as legal notice number 214 of 2022. Mr. Speaker, these are regulations that were made prior to 2013, and the Statutory Instruments Act provides that all regulations that were made either on or before the 23rd of January 2013 shall automatically expire on the 23rd of January 2023. Mr. Speaker, there are many instruments, regulations that were made on or before that date, Mr. Speaker, that are due to expire on 23rd of January 2023. One among them, Mr. Speaker, are those listed in the committee paper that was already been circulated. And the Gazette notice has already been published, Mr. Speaker, extending those regulations as required by Section 21, subsection 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013. Among those regulations, Mr. Speaker, that are being extended, and members need to listen. It is affecting them. I don't know why members are talking. You will apply for mortgage and you will not get it if you don't approve these regulations. Mr. Speaker, the regulations that are being extended are those with regard to parliamentary service constituency offices regulations 2005. This will affect them, Mr. Speaker. If they don't extend them, they will not receive any money. Mr. Speaker, the other regulation that is due to be extended is Parliamentary Services Center for CPST regulations. The Public Finance Parliamentary Mortgage Staff Scheme Fund that are also due to expire. The Public Finance Management Parliamentary Car Loan Staff Scheme regulations that were made in 2013. Parliamentary Services Offices of Members of Parliament regulations that were made in 2013. Mr. Speaker, the offshoot of this one here, if we don't extend these regulations, those members of Parliament that are occupying offices outside the Parliament precincts, they will be thrown out. So that's why I'm telling them to listen very carefully, including the Honorable Wandai, who is my good friend. I can see he's listening very keenly now. Mr. Speaker, the other one is the Public Finance Management Parliamentary Mortgage for members. Mr. Speaker, if we don't extend them, members cannot apply for mortgage and they cannot be given. Mr. Speaker, the other one is the Public Finance Management Car Loan for members also. That requires to be extended. So with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, they are fairly straightforward. This is just regulations that have been published to extend those regulations for a period of 1 year so that they can bring them before the committee for consideration between now and 23rd January 2023. Mr. Speaker, I would like to request the Honorable Komingoi to second.
The member for? Yes, member for Bureti. What? There's nothing out of order. Can you second? Give him the mic. Give him the nearest mic. Give him the next. There is one on your right.
Mr. Speaker, noting that this is only the exemption from expiry, I second this motion so that the regulations may be still in operation pending their submission to the Committee on Delegated Regulation. Thank you.
Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1, 2022, and pursuant to the provision of Section 21(2) of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, approves the statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulations 2022, published as legal notice number 214 of 2022. Is that the mood of the House? Yes, yes. Yes. I will now put the question. Order. Order, Honorable. I will now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1, 2022. Order, honorable members. And pursuant to the provisions of 21(2) of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, approves the statutory instruments exemption from expiry regulations 2022, published as legal notice number 214 of 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, consideration of the report on statutory instruments, exemption from expiry, regulation 2022.
Minority Leader, what is itching you?
Mr. Speaker, I am not being...
Order, honorable members. Order, yeah. Honorable Kajwang, you are a senior lawyer and a senior member of this House. Order, Honorable Kajwang. Order, Honorable Kajwang. Order. Order, Wandai, sit down. Honorable Kajwang, if you are inviting an expulsion, I will not give it to you. I will not give it to you. Honorable Wandai.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving this chance. And I want to be very, very brief. And following the vote you have taken under standing order, under order number 8, and the intolerance we are seeing creeping into this House, Mr. Speaker, I want this to go on record that as the minority side, we are not willing to be a party to a process which aims at legitimizing illegalities, illegitimacies, that this House cannot, under our watch, be turned into a kangaroo institution. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, you cannot preside over a House like this, Mr. Speaker, with all tremendous respect. And therefore, I want to give you a chance to proceed with...
Order. Order. Order, Honorable Wandai. Honorable Wandai. Order. Honorable Wandai, you are definitely prosecuting a matter that is not before the House. We have voted, and once you vote on a matter, it is spent. You cannot, under the guise of a standing order, launch a vicious and unjustified assault on the House, to which you are a member and a leader. I urge you to exercise restraint. I urge you to be a good parliamentarian, and whenever you want to say something, I'll give you an opportunity. But to launch that kind of ferocious assault on the House is totally out of order, and I want to urge you members that whatever internal turmoil we may have, let's constrain it to ourselves and not bring it to the floor. Next order. No further points of order. You are out of order. Order. The next order has been called. Order number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the following motion: that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the statutory instruments exemption from expiry Regulation 2022 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1st, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 21, subsection 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013.
Order, Honorable Jebkonga. Honorable Junet, what is it that is out of order? And I hope it's a legitimate point of order.
Mr. Speaker, we should not be bullied here. Some of the people who want to bully me have found me here. Mr. Speaker, having said that,
nobody will bully you. What is out of order?
Mr. Speaker, what is the out of order is that, Mr. Speaker, look at that, Mr. Speaker. Is this the kind of house you want to operate in? Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Junet will be heard.
Yeah,
what is out of order, Honorable Junet?
Mr. Speaker, I want to seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. Even though we have voted on the matter, as you said, which is very correct, but Mr. Speaker, we shall be allowed to ventilate as a debating chamber whatever we want to say, Mr. Speaker. We feel gagged, we feel intimidated, and we feel molested, Mr. Speaker. Here. For that reason, can we go? Can we go? Can we go?
Order, Honorable Junet. Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable Junet, again, you are totally out of order. The motion that was moved by the Honorable Chepkonga was very simple. Statutory instruments are expiring. You should extend them so that they can go to the committee and be validated. As simple as that. Your leader stands up and calls this house a kangaroo court. Nothing completely unrelated to the motion that was before the House. Can you call that being denied a right to be heard? No, you can't. Rules of relevance will apply on anything and everything that comes before this House. Go on, Chepkonga.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence.
Chepkonga, carry on.
Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, can you listen first? Mr. Speaker.
Nothing is out of order, honorable members.
Mr. Speaker, can I? Yeah. Mr. Speaker, that this honorable House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the statutory instruments exemption from expiry Regulation 2022 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1st, 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Section 21, subsection 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, as read together with the provisions of Laws Act Cap 1, approves the statutory instruments exemption from expiry number 2, Regulation 2022, published as legal notice number 218 of 2022. Mr. Speaker, this relates to statutory instruments that concerns the executive. Mr. Speaker, with your very kind indulgence, since I was interrupted here, while I was moving a motion, Mr. Speaker, would I be in order to request you, Mr. Speaker, to rule members out of order? Standing order number 83, and we are all given standing orders, Mr. Speaker. We were inducted. It reads as follows: any member may raise a point of order at any time during the speech of another member, stating that the member rises on a point of order and that member shall be required to indicate the state of...
I already ruled them out of order.
Mr. Speaker.
If you have called your seconder.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I like to point out, Mr. Speaker, that this notice affects about 1,764 regulations that have been made pursuant to 400 statutes that were passed by this House, Mr. Speaker. So we are just regularizing this, just like we did the ones for Parliament for a period of 1 year. And I would like to request the Honorable Mwirigi to second.
Honorable Mwirigi. Give the honorable member the mic, clerk. Honorable Mwirigi,
it is okay.
Give the honorable a working mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You switch him off again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to second. Thank you.
Honorable members, I propose the question, which that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the statutory instruments exemption from expired regulations 2022 laid on the table of the House on Thursday, December 1, 2022. Order, Honorable Ngeno. And pursuant to the provisions of Section 21(2) of the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, as read together with the revision of Laws Act Cap 1, approves the Statutory Instruments exemption from expiry number 2 regulations 2022, published as legal notice number 218 of 2022. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.